Dear brothers and sisters, let us continue the book reading, Voicereal, written by Babuji Maharaj, chapter Afflictions. At another place, he wrote to one of his associates, "As for afflictions and worries, I too had mine, which might perhaps be shocking to another. Often I had nothing for my meals. I had a number of children and dependents to support. Besides, at times, I had to help others too, which I could not avoid. The entire responsibility was upon me alone, and I had to manage all that and provide for all requirements. I may also tell you that sometimes there was only one quilt, and that too with badly mutilated padding to cover the whole family. But I took it as a display of misfortune only, which passed away with time. I felt that all this was absolutely of no importance to me as compared to reality, which was predominant in all my being, so I ever smiled on them, thinking them to be the very way of salvation." Here, Lalaji Maharaj has written a letter to one of his associates regarding his own afflictions and worries, which were shocking to others. Often he had nothing for his meals, and he had a number of children and dependents to support. And besides, at times, he had to help others too, which he could not avoid. So, in total, the entire responsibility of his family was on his shoulders, and he has to manage them and was supposed to provide all the necessities and requirements. See the generosity and helping nature of Lalaji Maharaj. Though his financial condition was not good, he was helping others when they were in need. Further, what he is telling, there was only one quilt for their entire family, and that too with badly mutilated padding. If this would have been the situation for anybody else other than Lalaji Maharaj, they would have complained to the God for making them as the victims of such afflictions and worries. But see here, Lalaji Maharaj took it as a display of misfortune and which passed away with time. And further, he felt that all this was absolutely of no importance to him at all, because he was always comparing to reality, which was predominant in all his being. So he ever smiled on them, thinking them to be the very way of his salvation. Let us read further. Constant brooding over our own afflictions increases our worries. Our attachment to them develops, and we become rigidly entangled in their intricacies. This hampers our onward progress, and the chance of success becomes slight. An alternative course suggested by certain misdirected teachers is that of deserting worldly responsibilities by breaking off from family, friends, and society. As a matter of fact, even then they have their particular worries and entanglements. That is therefore no solution of the problem. On the other hand, it promotes greater evils in the form of arrogance, pride, and prejudice, the worst poisons for a spiritual life. Here, Babuji Maharaj is saying that if we start brooding over our own afflictions constantly, it increases our worries rather than decreasing it, because we develop attachment towards them and we become rigidly entangled in their intricacies, that is, the clutches of our afflictions. This undue attachment hampers our onward progress in the journey of God realization, and the chances of our success becomes slight. Further, as an alternative course, many teachers they misdirect by giving the suggestions of deserting worldly responsibilities by breaking off our relationship with our family, friends, and society. They will say that if you want to overcome your afflictions, just leave your family, leave your friends, and even leave your society also. But what Babuji Maharaj is saying that even after doing that also the problem will not be solved, as the mind is not trained properly. That is, the transformation should happen within us, not by any external means and ways. On the other hand, by following such suggestions, it promotes even greater evils in the form of arrogance, pride, prejudice, which are the worst poisons for our spiritual life. So, dear brethren, we should be very careful. Let us read further. None in the world is free from worries. The presence of afflictions is in fact a positive proof of very existence of man. Worries are really the result of the unbalanced activity which had originally brought man into existence. This is the interplay of the forces of nature, causing expansions and contractions, by the effect of which layer after layer began to be formed. Now, if one keeps his entire attention located on them, thinking that thereby he may minimize their effect, it is almost impossible. Ages may be lost in the pursuit, not to speak of this one life. On the other hand, he will go on fabricating greater intricacies by his own actions. That is really the misutilization of the powers bestowed on us by nature. If we keep ourselves concerned with the clearing off of the limitations set up by the expansion and contraction of the forces, our purpose may be rightly served. It is therefore necessary for us to start from the level where nature's forces began to promote consciousness in man. The reason why people are not able to undertake it is that they do not attach any importance to it, because they have no definite aim or purpose in view. An archer can never hit at the mark unless he fixes his keen attention on the object to be hit. Here, Babuji Maharaj is saying that no one in this world is free from miseries and worries. And moreover, the presence of afflictions is in fact a positive proof of the very existence of man. That is, because we are existing, the afflictions are also exist. If we are not here, then where does the question of afflictions? So, it is the positive proof of our very existence on this earth. In the beginning, there was only one thing that existed, that we may call it as God or the ultimate reality. And by the divine will for creation of diversity, there existed an opposite force which became the very reason for our existence on this earth, as a result of which the very disturbance took the form of miseries, afflictions, and worries. And this is the interplay of the forces of nature. It causes expansion and contraction. And by this process of expansion and contraction, layer after layer began to form around the soul. If suppose we keep our entire attention to resolve our problem, thinking that if we brood over it or if we think about that again and again, we can solve the issue or problem, then it is almost becomes impossible. Ages may be lost in the pursuit, not to speak of this one life. Many hundreds of years, many lives may be lost in this pursuit. And on the other hand, we go on fabricating greater intricacies by our own actions. That is, we start creating a web around us only. Babuji Maharaj is saying that this is really the misutilization of the powers bestowed on us by nature. Instead of that, if we start thinking to clear off the limitations set up by the expansion and contraction of the forces, then we utilize that power in a proper way and our purpose will be rightly served. So now we have to go to the root and we have to find out the root cause for our afflictions and miseries. Unfortunately, the people are unable to undertake such task because they are not attached to it or are not paying any importance to it because they do not have any definite aim or goal or purpose in their view. Consider the example of an archer. He always fixes his eyes on the center of the target. So that is called as the bull's eye. If he could fix his eyes on the object, then only he can hit the object. Otherwise, it is not possible. Similarly, we should always aim at the highest. That is the goal of our life, to realize God. Then we start ignoring all our afflictions, miseries, and treat them to be the very way of our salvation. Here, Babuji Maharaj has given all of us a hint that how to transform our afflictions for our spiritual upliftment. With this, dear brethren, I conclude today's satsang, and let us know more aspects in the forthcoming satsang. Till then, I take leave. Pranams. Namaste.